It's sick, it's sad, but it's fact. It's what's going on. I don't know. This is very upsetting.
It is. You know, when you mentioned your family member who doesn't want to hear this, we've all experienced that, and it's because people don't want their fragile paradigm to be broken. And in this country, we've all lived under this paradigm for such a long time that it's, you know, we live in the most powerful, honorable nation on the face of the planet, and we're not in wars of aggression. We're spreading democracy. We're spreading liberty. And it just, the truth of the matter couldn't be any farther from that point of view. And Ron Paul, in the debate, we see Brett Baer go after him 3 times in a row. One answer was not enough. 2 answers were not enough. But 3 times he would go after Ron Paul in a row about Ron Paul's stance on this new warmongering that the war drums are beating to attack Iran. And Ron Paul's position is very simple. Constitutional principles will tell us we are not allowed to go into another war of aggression and attack a sovereign nation. And that wasn't good enough for Brett Baer. 3 times he had to get the soundbite that he needed to try to hang Ron Paul in the court of public opinion, because those that want to latch on and hang on by their fingernails to this fragile breaking paradigm, they're on Brett Baer's side. They're on the side of the neocons. Endless war, endless war, endless war. And it's the absolute opposite of what our country was founded on and the principles that made our nation great. And it's just disgusting. You write, by directing the largesse to Wall Street and obstructing it to Main Street, the powers believe they are winning the battle over inflation. What they're doing, though, Jim, is they're causing hyperinflation of a class war.
Right. Take a look at the quantitative easing, the QE programs. QE1 was honestly brokered. They said, we're going to buy a lot of treasury bonds. We're going to buy a lot of mortgage bonds. They're in trouble. We're losing the bidders, and we need to do this in order to prevent really fast rising interest rates. So they did it, but they had an effect that didn't want, and that was the dollar fell. And that was the price of gold went up. It was the price of food went up. It was the price of metals and materials that went up. And then we started seeing the Arab Spring, which is, I think, although there may have been some sparks lit by our boys, it's much, much wider than what they wanted. So the consequence of being honest, this transparency from the Bernanke Fed, it has a bad rub, and that rub is you get the dollar dropping and you get the entire cost structure rising. And you get the dumb posts like Betty Lou on Bloomberg saying, well, isn't that good? I mean, energy companies will make more money. Yeah, well, they make more money at the expense of the entire economy, so that if a company had a 2% profit margin, suddenly it doesn't have a profit margin at all, and they start laying off people. Betty, wake up, Betty. Did you take any economics courses, Betty? I mean, this is just common stupidity about economic matters throughout. Now, what has happened in the recent quantitative easing programs? QE2 came, QE2 Lite came. They were a little bit honest about it, but less honest than before. And then you've got this curious Operation Twist, which in my view is QE3.
Right.
Oh, no, we don't have QE3 yet. Why? Because they haven't admitted it?
Right.
Well, how about looking at the evidence? How about looking at the money supply, the monetary aggregate? It's growing like the moon.
Yeah.
So what they're doing now is they're having global quantitative easing and not talking about it. The challenge for them, and this is, I think, what they're embarking on, is let the economies go to hell, but let's manage it in such a way that the prices don't get out of control. That's managing a sinking ship. Let's put holes in our boat, and let's just make sure we can bail sufficiently so we don't sink, and we'll call it a recovery. Oh, man, the two options of much stronger price inflation in Main Street versus the other side, which is, complete rot, and I call it deterioration of the economy. If you look at the honest CPI that shadow government statistics have put out, you'll see that in the last 3 years, 8, 9, 10%, maybe even a little bit higher. Just call it 8 to 10%. We've been told consistently that price inflation is 2 to 3%. Mm-hmm. So the lie is about 7%. Well, subtract what they claim our GDP growth is. They tell us it's 2%, stall speed at 2%. What morons they take us for. Yeah. Subtract 7. you've got consistent minus 5% economic recession. It's stark, dangerous, and ugly. Oh, gosh, does that explain why new jobs are not being created? Does that explain why 400,000 a week are taking jobless claims insurance? Yeah, it does.
Well, the bottom line takeaway, if there is a bottom line takeaway, and I think we're all on the same page here, do you have any words of wisdom for those of us sitting here with trying to develop a game plan?
Well, I've got a wake-up call message. If you're waiting for your mining stocks to go to the moon with your tenfold gain that you should get, it's going to be a long, long wait. I advised my clients in early 2008, early 08, get out of mining stocks. They're paper. They're subject to inflation. It's called dilution through secondary issuance. They're running out of money. They've got cost pressures too. So these mining companies keep printing more shares, and they leave themselves open to their brokerage houses that they do business with to naked short their stocks. So the same criminal crap that goes on in the financial markets also goes on with the mining stocks. While silver has doubled in price, even at, say, 29, it's doubled in price the last 2 or 3 years, the mining stocks haven't done jack. The mining stocks are pretty much stuck at a $1,300 gold price and wondering, scratching their ass, what's going on? Well, what's going on is that they're holding paper. And you know, one of the risks for MF Global, we didn't get into a lot of the MF Global ancillary risk, is stock accounts are not safe if the parent corporation uses the accounts as collateral for their own rehypothecation. Stock accounts are not safe if the parent company goes bust and all subsidiaries are wiped out. So you got to be very careful. Who is your parent corporation in your stock account or your 401k account or your mutual fund account? Not only that, but what company provides credit for this brokerage or financial firm where private accounts are held? What company, and it's probably a Wall Street bank, has credit lines, and therefore, in the fine print that you never read, kind of like credit cards, you know, they got font 3. We changed all the legal obligations for your credit card. Here's your rules. Read it. You might need a magnifying glass. Well, in the magnifying glass for most financial accounts, it gives permission, and I just quoted in a report that I'm writing right now. Charles Schwab says we reserve the right to use your accounts as collateral for our investments. So if their investments go bust, what happens to your account? This is prevalent, and I think it could be one of the mechanisms that you see a lot of vanished accounts in the United States, a lot of vanished wealth. It's kind of a retribution. If the banks are going to go bust, they're going to put grappling hooks in your back and drag you down with them to make sure that you're going to be a good debt slave. I don't want to get into all this. It's very ugly stuff, but you got to wonder if J.P. Morgan invokes rehypothecation and says that they had the right to go after the MF Global accounts because, well, that's in the fine print for your futures contract for your opening an account. Do people really read every word in the contract for opening up a financial account? Ooh. It's time you did, and it's pretty scary when you do.
Well, Jim, you just have such a tremendous knack for being able to talk about really, really complex issues and write about them in a way that people understand. And I'm not in the business of peddling newsletters. I have on people who write newsletters, and you write one of the best ones out there. Can you tell us how people can find you on the Internet, number one? Because when I do a Google search, a lot of times I'll get Financial Sense, and I'll get your articles posted elsewhere. Tell us about goldenjackass.com. And for those that have the discernment to want to subscribe to your newsletter, how do they do that?
Well, the website is goldenjackass.com. I wanted a nice, simple name that people could remember and not struggle to spell. I succeeded, although it's very irreverent. It gives away my personality. I show no reverence to the agents of destruction for our way of life and our financial system. goldenjackass.com is a website where on the public page, you get a listing of public articles, and it's long. Really, for 4 years or 5 years, I did one a week with few exceptions, like at Christmas. Things were really happening, and it was exciting times to follow. But there are a lot of radio interviews like this that I post on that in that public main area, and the public articles. But the real promotion is for the newsletter. I've got 2 reports, but the reports lately have been the Money War Report and the Gold and Currency Report. The Money War Report really focuses on the monetary wars, the currency, the competing currencies. It's a race to the bottom. It's the reverse beauty pageant. Central banks lowering to zero to protect and do harm, protect their export industry by doing harm to their financial sector. What they don't realize is that when they move towards 0%, they kill capital. Capital just retires. It goes offline, and people lose jobs. They're not working that machine anymore because that job went away. It's not profitable anymore. Costs went up. So that's the consequence of the 0%. A lot of that is covered in the Money War Report. The Gold and Currency Report, it focuses a lot on the gold stories. There's a lot of things happening right now. They've drawn the lease rate negative for gold. And that makes it very attractive for troubled banks to post some money, borrow some gold, be paid to do so, and then sell it in the market. Negative lease rates for gold. Just think about that. If someone gave you money to lease something, would you be attracted? Well, sure. I can then sell it in the market. And a lot of other people do too. Oh, we got a down market, so it's a good thing to do. I can maybe put on some futures contracts and make a little extra money. Oh, this is so nasty. What they're doing is they're leasing out the Libyan and Greek gold right now. And Turkey is involved because Turkey is really in dire straits. So I talk a lot about stuff like that in the Gold and Currency Report. And months ago I talked more about the euro and the British pound. But now we're just seeing deadly assaults on Europe, and for a while the differentiation for bond yields, like for Germany versus Spain or Germany versus Greek, would invite arbitrage, and I talked about that a couple of years ago as a pressure point to really render harm. So anyway, goldenjackass.com is the website, and it has a subscription button where you can get yourself a half-year subscription. It's renewed automatically. It's competitively priced, and keeps me busy and doesn't exactly keep me off the streets, but it keeps me busy. Keeps me very challenged.
Yeah, well, sometimes they're challenging reads, but as I said, you write them in a way that any of us can understand, even if we don't have a PhD in statistics, and that's what I appreciate about your reports. I'm going to post Pathogenesis of Central Bank Ruin below this video, so anybody that wants to read your latest can do so easily. And Jim, we just really, truly appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I hope to have you on. I hope to have you on again.
I hope to be on again.
It was my pleasure. I hope to be on again.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
Well, thanks for tuning in, and be sure to visit SGT Report for all the latest on a daily basis. Thanks for watching. Good night.